Okay, welcome to our January 27th meeting, 2026. We'll start with our public participation at Town of Hatfield Select Board meetings. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to the meetings and all of the public meetings of the Town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the Town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. For the public's information, this meeting is being recorded. I would like to start with announcements. I'd like to thank our DPW, and I know they were 2 people short, and Alan Belden helped the DPW, as long as our first responders and our police and fire who worked through the storm. And I want to thank all of them for being there. It was a tough storm, and I think the town did very well with the DPW, and they did a good job. And the other announcement is I want to, again, remind people, you got to stop for flashing lights on school buses. I mean, I never thought I would witness it myself, but I did witness this on Elm Street the other week, where a car did pass the bus as it was stopping with its lights flashing. Luckily, the bus driver was smart and didn't open the door yet, but I never thought I'd see that in this town. So please get off your cell phones, watch the road, watch for blinking lights. Those are my announcements. Do my colleagues, do you have any announcements?
Just want to reiterate how good of a job the DPW did at clearing the roads and getting the sidewalks open. The only other thing that I have to add to it is if you have a fire hydrant in your area, shovel a path to it in a 3-foot circle all the way around it. It greatly helps the fire department out. But other than that, that's all I've got.
No, I'm good.
Okay, with that, anybody here for public forum? Chief, come right up to the microphone if you can, and
So just a couple of public safety announcements. So Luke already covered, I was going to talk about making sure that you clear your hydrants. It's definitely going to help us get to them. It's going to help you in the event of emergency. Also making sure that your boiler vents or water heater vents are also cleared on the side of the house. There was a lot of blowing snow over the last couple of days, and we want to make sure that those are free so we do not end up with any extra CO calls. Because obviously we know that it's a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas, but it can be very deadly. So we want to make sure that we're protecting everybody. And then the last one is just for anybody else. I just want the residents to know that currently the fire department is struggling with some staffing. We have limited number of folks that are available in town to respond to calls. You know, a bunch of our folks were out this weekend plowing, and it left a few calls that were uncovered, so we had to have some mutual aid coming in. So we're kind of struggling right now. Everybody's kind of got a lot going on. So don't be surprised if there is an extreme delay. We had one this morning about 3 a.m. Northampton Fire had to come in, and it was almost 45 minutes before an engine got on scene because there's just lack of responders that are available in town right now. So somebody will come, but I just want residents to understand that it is going to be a delay if we cannot get a crew here from Hatfield. So that was my couple of messages.
thank you, Chief.
All right.
Anybody else here for public forum? If not, we'll move with our, unless you have anything, Andrew, for announcements or
I do
public
not.
forum. Okay.
Nope.
We'll move with our consent agenda. Do I have a motion on the
I'll make a
minutes
motion to approve the January 13th, 2026 meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move to posted business. Topic 1 is an alcohol license conversion fee. If I recall, there was a state new law where if you have a wine and malt license, you can convert to an all alcoholic license. Of course, you can't pass that on, but That was established by, and I think we voted that in, Andrew. Do you have any comments on the fee?
Yeah, I'll start, and then Karen's the one who works mostly with this, but when we approved this, we didn't actually set what the fee would be should you wish to convert from one license to the other. Karen and I thought about this, and we really thought that the fairest way to do it, with the board's approval, would just be, the fee would be the difference between having the wine and malt and then having the full alcohol. It's just pay the difference between those two licenses in the first place. So we think that that's the fairest way to take care of that.
Okay, I like that.
Is there any other
comments?
is there any other like administrative things that have to happen for that license to change?
It's a good question. It has to be approved by this group, has to be reviewed by the executive assistant. You could make the argument that there's some work that goes into it, but we don't typically charge for any of that for other licenses. We're just basically charging for license itself. I think it's I'm trying to think if there's any inspections, other inspections or anything else would occur. It's minimal, so I don't think you necessarily need to recoup other expenses, but you could consider that and add a little something.
Craig, any comments?
Sounds good.
So, would you like to entertain a motion to accept what was presented for?
I'll make a motion to approve alcohol license conversion fee, and the fee shall be the difference between the previous and the new annual license fee paid by the business.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, topic 2. This was something that we did approve, but it appears that there was a snafu in the paperwork, so it came back, and because of the snafu in the paperwork, we just have to reapprove it again. I believe, Karen, that's what we have to do. And that's an application for change of officers, directors for reconsider for Tazwa Kazimierza, Lodge 1965, or as we know it as the Hatfield Polish Club. So I'll entertain a motion on that unless there's some discussion.
I have no discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for change of officers, directors for reconsideration for TOWSW Kazimierza GP 1965 Z.N.P.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we go to topic 3, which will be the presentation on D.F. Riley Gristmill Dam Removal Feasibility Study. So I do ask you to come forward, sort of state your name, what you're doing, and what's happening here. So go right ahead. And welcome to Hatfield. Thank you for coming forward. I know there's a lot of residents have a lot of questions on this, and I do appreciate that you keep us in the loop periodically with updates on what's happening, because there is a lot of concern in the community as to what's happening with this particular project. I'll leave it up to you now.
I'll start. I'm Becky Budd. I'm the Restoration Program Manager at Connecticut River Conservancy, and I've been working with the dam owners since 2023.
My name's Candace Constantine. I'm a senior project manager and an engineer with Ty & Bond, and we are the engineering firm that CRC enlisted to help with the effort of putting together the feasibility and doing the technical side of things. And yeah, I'm managing that project on behalf of Ty & Bond and we have a team, and I've got one of the team members here with me tonight to help with questions.
Hello, my name is Isabel Arthen Long. I'm a project environmental scientist with Ty & Bond, perform the wetland delineation, and I'm supporting environmental permitting.
Great, so we thought we'd just give you an update on where we are with the project, and I'm going to give a little background too for folks who haven't heard about it yet, just to understand kind of where we're coming from and where we intend to go with this phase of the project. So for today, I was going to give you a little introduction to the project and talk a little bit about some of the specific concerns with the site, tell you a little bit about the history and why we're here talking about dam removal at this site, then describe what we've done so far to date, show you the design plans. We're just at the concept level right now, so we'll show you kind of where we've come in terms of what measures we think need to be implemented in order to remove the spillway, and then present a schedule that if the owners pursue dam removal, this would be along the lines of, the schedule for that whole implementation of the project. So just to tell you who's who and who's involved with the project, the project owners, as you all probably know, are the Old Mill Enterprises and Mill River Storage. So the old mill is on the what I'll call the left abutment of the spillway, and then Mill River Storage is on the right abutment of the spillway, the storage garage up there. And we have a lot of partners that are working on the project. So Connecticut River Conservancy is overall the project manager for this phase of the project, and they came on board at the request of the dam owners to help them with this phase of the design. And then the other partners are the town of Hatfield as a stakeholder. Andrew's been attending our meetings and has kept abreast of all the progress that we've been making. Mass Wildlife, the Mass EEA, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, as well as the Nature Conservancy, have provided funding for the work. And that is moving through the Connecticut River Conservancy. They've been taking the lead on grant applications. And then we've been contracted by Connecticut River Conservancy to carry out the technical piece of the work. And I'm sure everyone's familiar with where we're at, but I thought I'd just present a couple of the things that we've taken into consideration broadly at the site. And those would be that the dam itself is an intermediate sized, significant hazard dam. Significant hazard means that there is a risk to properties, risk of damages, potential risk to public safety if the dam were to fail. And that's a classification that is based on flood modeling studies and has been determined by the Office of Dam Safety. And as you all know, the site has a lot of historical importance for the town. It is on the National Register of Historic Places, so the buildings and the dam itself are listed, and they are both within the Old Mill Site Historic District and the Mill Prospect Street Historic District. The river is an important natural resource too. It's a tributary to the Connecticut River. It's a cold water fishery resource, and there is priority habitat for rare species mapped along the river course. So if we zoom in a little bit to the dam itself, I just thought I'd give you a little bit of the history of how we ended up at the dam removal alternative. And it is based on the fact that the current condition rating for the dam is unsafe. And that is because engineers have noticed substantial deficiencies and have been documenting them since at least 2019. And to show you a little sketch, I know you won't be able to read this very well, but I'll kind of give you the highlights of this. This is a sketch that was in the latest dam inspection report. And there are some notes on here that note down all the different deficiencies. So this is a report that's accessible to the public through the Office of Dam Safety. We also have a copy, so if the board would like a copy of this, we can provide that. In summary, the spillway is missing some concrete. There's been some concrete spalling off the spillway. There are some cracking on the spillway also. There is some seepage and some loss of masonry on the abutments, and some leakage discharge through the former sluiceway underneath the old mill building, and also some leakage coming through underneath the mill river storage building on the right-hand abutment as well. And so all of those things put together, indicate that the dam is in a deteriorating condition. And so the dam owners, as a result of documentation of these deficiencies, received a certificate of non-compliance and a dam safety order. And that dam safety order said that the owners had to resolve these condition issues by either repairing the dam or breaching it or removing it. and those were their choices. So the dam owners have considered a lot of different options. So they have looked at hydropower, and were told by a provider that it's not technically feasible at the site because, or economically feasible at the site. They could put something in, but it wouldn't generate enough power to offset the cost. And then there's also the considerations with the grid, the electrical grid through town, and if it can handle the loading. So there's some considerations there. They also considered or approached the town at one point about selling or giving the dam to the town. At the time, the town wasn't interested. And they did consider rehabilitation, but again, it's an economic feasibility issue because it would be a very costly project. And then in addition to that, they'd have to keep inspecting the dam and maintaining the dam into the future. So it's quite a heavy cost burden for the owners. So after they went through this process and decided that removal was really the best option for them as owners, then they started working with Connecticut River Conservancy on that. And so on this slide, I've just summarized some of the project goals. Over on the left, some of the primary goals from the owner's perspective, their primary goal is to reduce their liability and their cost. They're trying, especially the old mill inn, they're trying to run a business there, and it's quite a heavy cost burden for them. And then Connecticut River Conservancy is interested in the project for improving stream connectivity and the natural resource that is the Mill River. And then there's some other goals of the project in terms of improving public safety, so reducing the risk to all the surrounding properties upstream and downstream that could be incurred if there's an uncontrolled failure or breach of the dam. And then on the ecology front, one of the goals of the project is to maintain or enhance ecosystem function. We recognize that it's a very important natural resource for the town and that a lot of people really enjoy the natural environment of the impoundment. So one of our goals is to make sure we maintain that ecological diversity in the river. And then from the historical and cultural resources perspective, we want to honor the historical and community importance of the site. So, that's everything from recording what was there and making sure that we document that, but also just making sure the final product, like the aesthetics of the site, fit in with the historic character of the area. So to date, we have done quite a bit of work toward this goal of this feasibility study and conceptual design. We've done some data review and collection, so starting with existing information, so all the dam safety records and FEMA mapping and anecdotal information from the dam owners and other things like that. We've collected all of that and reviewed it. We've done a wetland delineation. We had a topo survey commissioned. We did bathymetric survey and sediment probing in the impoundment to determine how much sediment is present in the impoundment and how we might need to handle that if we were to remove the dam spillway. And then we've done sediment sampling and testing to look for potential contamination. And then some of the studies that we've done as a part of that work or in addition to it are by some different teams. We had our structural team come out and do a structural assessment of the dam and the abutments to look at the feasibility of removing the spillway while leaving the abutments in place and what kinds of strengthening work or improvements would need to take place at the abutments if we were to do that so that we wouldn't put the buildings at risk. We also had a cultural resources assessment done by a sub-consultant, an archaeological sub-consultant that will be engaged throughout the project to help us with better understanding the resources that were there, how we can protect them, and then how we can incorporate some of the historic nature into the design. And then from the design standpoint, we've been working on the hydrology, so that's like figuring out what sort of flood flows are coming into the system, hydraulic modeling, so, figuring out what the stream might look like once the dam is removed, and then working toward a conceptual design. So for today, I didn't want to get too far into some of the technical stuff, so the modeling results and things, but those reports will become available, so we'll send those to Andrew as we have them, and those can be made available. I thought today I would just kind of touch broadly on the design, and then we could answer any questions folks have. So some of the specific challenges with the site, and on the next slides I've got the design, are construction access. You all know it's tight out there, and the abutments are not necessarily safe, so we can't be siting heavy equipment on top of those abutments. So that's a challenge for a dam removal project. We've got historical buildings that are sensitive and in some cases not in great shape in places. There are historical cultural resources. Our archaeologists mapped some of this area as having like high potential for cultural resources. There are known, and that has to do with both the industrial history, so industrial artifacts, but also potentially Native American artifacts. So we have to be sensitive to that in the design. The inn, as I mentioned, it's an important business in the area, so there are inn operations also that we have to take into consideration. And then another environmental concern that was discussed at the public meeting, and that has come up a few times, that there are listed species in the impoundment, specifically a freshwater mussel species that is a concern. And so that is something that we've been investigating and are continuing to work on as we head into the next phases. This is an overview. I've got it zoomed in places so you can see, but this is just to show you kind of the footprint of the work. And actually, we've tried to keep it relatively tight to the dam location. So on this map, north is up in the page, and you'll see the Old Milton is labeled toward the top of the page. The shaded rectangles are the existing parking lots. And then the darker gray area south of the Old Milton and the parking lots, that's sort of the working area within the river channel. And you can see the former Prospect Court Bridge there. And then the dam spillway is right adjacent to the Old Milton, stretching across the river between the inn and the mill building on the southern side. And so now I'm going to zoom in a little closer to each one of the banks so you can see, what we're planning. And we can also provide these drawings. They haven't been finalized yet, but when they are, Andrew will have copies of those if anyone wants to take a closer look. So we are proposing to access the site and stage the project from the parking lots. We did investigate a lot of different other areas, like the lawn area behind the mill inn, or maybe the town property at the intersection of School and Bridge Streets for staging, but we learned there's a sewer siphon underneath, or sewer pump station there on the corner. And then the lawn area of the Old Mill Inn is considered to have a high probability of industrial artifacts or archaeological artifacts. So we're trying to minimize the impacts of the project on all these different resources. So we've decided to stage the project on the existing parking lots. And then the dark gray line is the proposed access route to the downstream channel, downstream of the dam. And there's one spot that will access the stream from upstream of the dam, because we're going to have to get to it from both sides. So the proposal is to remove the spillway itself. So that's just the central portion, the central concrete portion, leaving the masonry and concrete works at on the abutment side. So leaving the abutment under the Old Mill Inn, and then leaving the abutment under the storage building, and just removing the spillway. And then what we would have to do that is on the left-hand side, you can imagine as water levels reduce, that bank becomes exposed, and it's quite a steep bank over there if you've been out to see it. So we would do a bit of bank reconstruction there with some rock probably at the bottom of the bank, and then build the bank up with what we call fabric encapsulated soil lifts. It's just a way to place soil in a stream bank and contain it in some biodegradable fabrics until plants have a chance to grow. So I put some inset photos here that show you kind of what the bank looks like when you first build it, and then after vegetation grows, you don't really see the coir fabrics anymore. And so that would be how we would strengthen the bank there. Then to help with the Old Mill Inn abutments, we would fill the existing intake that's currently leaking through the sluiceway there. We'd fill that intake with controlled density fill, and then do some work on the outside masonry wall of the abutment at the Old Mill Inn to fill some of the voids with masonry and grout, and repair the grout. And there's some brickwork up underneath the Old Mill Inn that has come dislodged, so we would have that repaired too. And then the next slide is the southern abutment, or the right-hand abutment. And so this, again, the spillway would be removed up to the abutment. But prior to doing that, we would face the interior sides of the north and east walls with concrete. The walls at this side of the storage facility are in pretty poor condition. And so we would work on the inside of the walls. You can get into the void underneath the building, or at least it should be possible. So the intention would be to face the insides of those walls to strengthen them ahead of removing the spillway, and then repairing the exterior stone and masonry on the downstream side of that abutment. You've probably all seen where that's kind of falling apart, so we would fix that. That's more of an aesthetic fix than necessarily a structural fix, but it would certainly kind of bring things together in the spirit of restoring the historical nature of the site. And then in addition to removing the spillway, we have a couple of optional tasks here that we'll continue to discuss with Andrew, and the town can feed into these. But one is the potential to remove the bridge superstructure that's there. It is, very deteriorated. So we could, while we're out there, have a contractor remove that as a part of the project and save the town that effort in the future. And then also potentially removing and disposing of the stone masonry pier in the center of the river channel. That's going to become exposed to higher velocity flows and things, and will probably deteriorate further once the dam is removed. We did have a bridge engineer take a look at this when we thought we might be looking at replacing the pedestrian bridge as part of the project. And they did say that they would, if you were to decide to replace a pedestrian bridge there, you'd likely need new pile foundations set back from the original masonry abutments anyway, so that central pier wouldn't serve a purpose in the future. And it has deteriorated. It's got missing masonry and things like that. So.
Are you saying that if there was a walkway put in there, the existing infrastructure would have to be removed anyways?
No, our thought is that we would leave it. The central pier is not usable in its current form. It would have to be repaired or removed. But if you wanted a clear span bridge, one could be put in there, and you wouldn't have to remove the existing abutments, but you would probably want something like a piled foundation behind to support the bridge structure, unless you wanted to do a lot of repair work to those abutments. But you'd have to have a separate, she looked at it at a very high level, you'd have to have a separate kind of investigation by a bridge engineer to design, new abutments or foundations for that.
Well, we did have one design a few years ago.
Okay.
To do a walkway, which
Yeah.
did involve using the existing structure and building on top of it, but
Yeah.
it's been a while, so it may have changed. I wasn't sure whether your bridge engineer was trying to bring it back to where cars could go across it, or whether just a walkway would be across it.
Yeah, we had heard in talking with Andrew that that a walkway was the thing that the town was considering there. So we did look into it early on. But like I said, she hasn't done any calculations on it. And I think the other thing is, if the dam's removed, it does change the nature of the flow behind, in through that cross section. So I think it's probably something that that would be a new condition that a bridge engineer would have to take into account. That would be different from what they were probably thinking before. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just in terms of next steps, so as a part of our current contract, we are progressing through permit level design. So we are now in the process of planning some pre-permitting meetings with regulators to talk about the permits that are going to be required for the project and to go over our design proposal and see if there are any issues we need to resolve before we head into permitting. And then Becky and I have talked about holding another meeting to just bring people along on the progress and sort of report back and demonstrate that we did hear folks when they were talking at the initial public meeting and talk about the ways that we've taken the concerns into consideration, and then kind of talking through the design work to date, and then producing permit level designs in summer 2026. Then the schedule, this is tentative, it depends on funding and how things go with permitting and things like that, and and decisions by the dam owners, obviously. So, but if we were to kind of continue on at the pace we are, that would mean permits being received sometime around the fall of 2027, then producing final designs by spring of 2028, bidding in the fall of 2028, and then construction around in the winter of 2028-29. Have anything to add? A lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of
Maybe there's
information. So, but we're happy to answer
I know
questions.
from the residents, there were two questions, so I'm going to present you the two questions. One was a concern from the farming side of irrigation, using the water upstream to irrigate their fields,
Yep.
how they would be impacted. And the other question was if the fish now can move upstream once the dam is removed. Is there a rare species that would be impacted or harmed by that? There was that question also. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been able to look at those two questions in any respect, or you're still waiting for studies or.
Yeah, so we have done an initial investigation of the wells, specifically the ones on sort of Jericho Road and the farming properties there. And what we've discovered is a lot of the wells are deep. So the deeper wells are not expected, and by deep I mean hundreds of feet. They're bedrock wells. Bedrock groundwater levels will not be affected by the project. So those wells will operate just as they are expected to operate just as they are today. If there are shallow wells, we haven't fully received information from folks on Jericho Road. We have reached out. So if there is anyone who has a shallow well or who exercises surface extraction, we would need them to get in touch with us. And like I said, we've sent letters out, and Becky's done some calling, and we've checked town records and things, but so we've done what we can without folks engaging with us around their needs. Yeah. And then the other question about the rare species, so that is a concern at the state and federal levels as well, with potential predators getting upstream because there is a listed freshwater mussel species. So we are looking at the feasibility of that. Right now, what the site has working for it is that there is bedrock there. There's ledge there that will remain a bedrock cascade. We're not proposing to chip away at any bedrock or anything like that. So that barrier will still remain. And the question that we have is how often can fish get up past that? And it really, I think what it has come down to is sort of a combination of what are the flows and what's that drop across? Because right now it's quite big, and the predators are not particularly great jumpers. So, but what we don't know is how often does the Connecticut River back up enough that poorer swimmers can get upstream. So we are doing some water level monitoring of the Mill River downstream of the bedrock. We did it in the fall, and we didn't have any events that were controlled by Connecticut River water levels, but we didn't capture spring floods yet. So once the ice melts, we're going to put the sensors back in and hopefully capture the spring floods and see if, how high the water levels come up at the base of that bedrock. So that's an ongoing area of investigation.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything to add to that? Because Becky's had a lot of conversations with regulators about this.
Only that everyone is very carefully considering it. And
Okay.
we will continue to talk to state biologists and such and make sure we have the best information, best plan to go forward.
And
It's
that dam
possible.
is how old? 340 years old? How old is it? Do you know how old that dam is?
Well, the current dam is closer to turn of the century, but I don't know, I can't remember from the documents how
No,
old.
I can't either.
Yeah, a few hundred years, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Those
Yeah.
are,
We
my
do have the
colleagues.
cultural resources report, I just don't have the date in my head right now, yeah.
So you said that in one of the early slides that it has a significant hazard rating.
Yeah.
Is there different levels to that are associated with it? Like a 1 through 10 ranking or different terminology? Like where does this fall in terms of imminent failure?
Right, it's more of a ranking in terms of if it failed, what would be at risk. So it's apart from condition. You can have a dam that's newly built and in great condition with a significant hazard rating.
Okay.
And it
So
has
it's
more.
different than the structural integrity.
Yes, it is. It has to do with what's at risk if it were to fail.
Right. So
yeah.
is there a rating that assesses the structural stability of the dam?
Yeah, so that's the unsafe rating that the Dam Safety Office has given it.
And how does that compare to, its probability for failure? Because, I mean, every bridge in the area is rated unsafe just about. So,
I know.
and we all still drive over them every day.
Yeah,
So,
there's no probability associated with that. I think, it has to do with the level of deterioration and, I think once you get to sort of leaking and spalling and missing concrete and missing masonry, then that's where, that kind of comes into question for this type of dam. But, yeah, there's no probability because it's a combination, isn't it, of like the physical factors that cause the deterioration plus like what kind of flood events are we going to be getting? Because you can imagine in a more catastrophic flood, you might expect more damage, and how often are we going to get those? So we don't have an assigned, there's no like, it has a such and such % chance of failure in any given year. We don't have that. More of a qualitative assessment than it is a quantitative assessment.
okay.
Yeah.
I get, so how would, if you had the choice between 3 dams to remove, how would you, and you were trying to evaluate safety ratings or risk factors, if you're not going to perform a structural analysis or give it some sort of rating, how would you go about making that decision?
Well, the way the dam removals come to be, it has to do with the dam owners. So, I suppose if a municipality owned 3 dams, they would probably look at the one that was in the worst condition or put the most people at risk or something like that. And then for other agencies, their priorities have to do with, stream restoration or fish passage. So, so I'm not sure, like, I guess in the real world application, it just kind of depends on all these different factors. There's no designated way to figure out like which dam comes out and which one doesn't. I think this specific site has to do with the fact that the dam owners have been told by dam safety that they have to do something, and they face, consequences if they don't. So they're making progress now on trying something. They tried all these other options and figured out that they were going to be too expensive or, not feasible. So they've landed on dam removal as the option in part because there's grant funding for dam removal, both from federal agencies and state agencies. there is not the same type of funding or level of funding for dam repair unless the dam is serving a function, like it's a water supply dam or something like that. So they have money available for a removal option.
It just seems that there's a lot of negatives to this between the freshwater mussels. We keep touching on the restoration of the fishery, but in the same breath, we're saying that we don't necessarily know if the fish will make it over the bedrock cascade that's already existing. We also don't know that if the fish going upstream are going to affect the listed species that are already there, along with the absolutely massive wetland and riparian zone that's already there. It just seems there's a lot of negatives to this for a dam that could be repaired. And it's affecting the dam itself, you could say, is affecting two properties for the abutments essentially, versus the entire ecosystem that's upstream of it affects 50, 60, 70 properties, plus everything that's upstream of it, continuing all the way through into Whately and Haydenville. So while removal might seem like an option, it also seems like there's a whole lot of negatives that are screaming to be addressed, that I feel like we're kind of being overlooked. This hasn't even come across conservation yet for any feedback from the Conservation Commission or from DEP, from what I've been told. So it seems that we're moving too fast towards removal instead of getting a well-rounded view of all of the different factors and the stakeholders here.
Yeah, so we haven't, we will be engaging with the regulatory agencies going forward. A lot of times they want to see something on a plan and they want to understand why we've reached the conclusion of dam removal, and then they want to see something on a plan that they can comment on. And then they do want to see an assessment of impacts. So one thing we're currently working on, so there are two things that you mentioned that I wanted to point out. One is on the impacts to the wetlands. So we are working on, how much is the water level going to drop during different flow events, and then what are the likely impacts. We know the wetland extents and types will change, but the area is so flat for so many miles that we're expecting that there will still be wetlands. It might just be in a different configuration. But we are looking at analyzing that in more detail, and that obviously is something that we'll talk about with DEP and the Concom. And then in terms of the fish passage question, so there are different species. So the species that are targets for migration are not necessarily the freshwater mussel predators. So it's other fish that might get up. So like American eel, for example, is one that can make it past the bedrock with the dam removed, and that's not a predator. Do you have anything else about fish or mussels?
It's a outstanding question whether there is a population of those predators already upstream, and so we're digging into that as well. And just coordination with the Conservation Commission and DEP. We could do some informal, but in terms of filing, that usually comes towards the end of the permitting process rather than at the beginning.
I just also know we had a project in town, maybe 15, 20 years ago, that got completely halted because of the freshwater mussel problem. So I'm curious how that project could be completely stopped by it. It seems like this one is barely touching on it so far, at least.
Well, this is very early in the process. So I don't know how far along your project got, if you were looking for permits at that point but we're still very early on in the process. So I think because we haven't actually entered the permitting process, then, maybe some things will come to light. So I think it's probably good to just remember how early we are, in the process of this. So, yeah.
I just wanted to build on the select board member's question kind of around how much repair was looked at as one of the options. I think you did go through what the owners have looked at as far as hydropower and a few other things that they've tried to address. The select board member said, repair could be an option here. You want us to address a little more about how that would play out and how there might be some barriers to actual repair of this dam rather than removal?
Sure. I don't have the estimates in front of me for what the construction costs would be. A lot of the cost for dam repair has to do with the water management and flow management while you're trying to do the repairs and get yourself enough time in the dry to place new concrete and stuff like that. So a lot of the mobilization costs and the managing the water costs and the big costs that come into a dam removal construction project also exist for a dam repair construction project. So a lot of times the costs are not that different for dam repair and dam rehabilitation. They could be. It depends, right? This site probably not as much because you'd probably be repairing what's there versus building a brand new dam, which would obviously be more expensive. But what's different then is that there's no like grant funding to pay for that, for the dam repair option. And then also the dam owners would remain the owners and then would be responsible for the periodic inspections that they currently have to hire an engineer to do periodic inspections. And this is all dam safety regulations, so it's not optional. And then they would be responsible for ongoing maintenance and further repairs if there are any other deficiencies noted in the future. So I think it's the costs over the lifetime for the dam owners that are also a consideration.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I do thank you for coming here. We appreciate you presenting this. I know it's in the preliminary stages, and hopefully you come back in the future and give another update, because I know the town will appreciate hearing about this. Whether they're happy with it or not, they still appreciate what's going on. And so thank you again for coming and presenting a wonderful presentation.
Sure, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we have another Colonial Power Group presentation and proposed aggregate energy rate change. Are they here, or?
Yes, so they're here remotely, so they'll pop up on your screen in a moment. It'll be Mark Capadonna from Colonial Power Group talking about the aggregate rate that we receive for our energy costs. This should not be a long presentation compared to what we just watched, so, but we do have some action steps that we will need to consider. So we'll have Mark, and we'll also have Denise Allard from Colonial joining us.
Good afternoon, Andrew. Or good evening. Can you see me? I didn't know if I had to wait or.
I can see you and I can hear you. I think we're just fixing one thing quickly to make sure that folks at home can as well. So I'm just looking quickly at John Novak.
Go ahead.
How are we looking?
Yeah, fine. We're connected.
We're great. So Mark and Denise, if you want to introduce yourselves and say why you're here, and we'll get going.
Excellent. Andrew, thank you very much. Mark Capadonna, Colonial Power.
Denise Allard, also from Colonial Power Group.
We're in front of you tonight to discuss a cost that ISO New England has been passed along to all, how would I want to say this, to all participants, whether you're on basic service, third-party supply, or an aggregation. In the current contract that we have with First Point Power, your current supplier of electricity is a pass-through cost. And the guidance that we received, I just want to make sure that I can level set. This cost is, it's called the Day Ahead Ancillary Services Initiative. And that, this new cost that they made, they created a cost for generation. So ISO New England calls on generation to run. And for the last 20 years, when generation ran and they weren't told to actually electrify or put electricity on the grid, they were eating that cost. And these charges are to help pay for that. So I just want to give you a little background. So I'm part of the generation. I say I'm ready to run. They say, yep, we're at your point in the stack. Please turn on. I take 15 minutes to start up, and I've begun to run. Burning gas or oil or something of that nature. Now it comes time, and they say, we don't need you right now. Stay at the ready. And all of those costs, O&M, actual gas and those kind of things, all those costs I was actually eating for those 15 minutes I was waiting before by the generator. They had been pressing ISO New England to be reimbursed for those costs because they were performing. So this DAISY cost is to reimburse the generators for that performance. Well, ISO New England went down to the FERC and they said, hey, listen, we think these costs will cost us about $125 million all over all of ISO New England. That's all of New England, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, everywhere. So what happened is the program started up in March, and through December, the costs so far have been $660 million to the generators, which is not even close. So at $125 million spread over a year's worth of total generation, it works out to about 0.00125. That's the guidance we got from ISO. With the supplier, we wanted to make sure that the town was protected. So we put 4.3 mils on this, or 2.5 times the cost, to make sure we were covered. Because what we were hoping is, okay, we're not going to pay more than cost, right? Hopefully at the end of it, we're covered. If it went up slightly, we don't have to do a rate change. Right there is the problem. It hasn't gone up slightly. And Andrew, I don't know if you were able to show that the chart that I don't know if that's in the select board's packet at all, the chart that I had provided you.
I don't believe it is. If you could share your screen and show it if you have it easily accessible. Otherwise, I can get that around.
I do. I'm going to try this. Just want you to know my technical skills are questionable. But right now it says screens, and I see it. And please tell me.
That's great.
Yep. Well, there's one for Mark right now. So.
And if you want to zoom in a little more, that would help. Down in the bottom right.
I think I can zoom up.
Oh, that's my fault.
I don't know if it will allow me.
Forget it. You're totally fine.
Anymore. I apologize for that. I don't know if I can. Here, and I apologize for not having it zoomed in, but the bottom line is in orange, and that's about 1 mil. We put in slightly less than this green line. I just want you to know that this is at 6 mils. We put in about 4.5 on the contract. Slightly less than this green line. The blue is what has happened so far in the program. And here's what's happened since December. It's actually November, things started to get what I'm going to call ugly. The bad news is what is happening moving forward, only for the winter. So I just want everyone to think about this. Believe it or not, the February contract, futures contract for natural gas is trading at $37 per MMBTU. In March, the contract is $6. In July, it's $3. So I just want it is blown out because of the polar vortex. That being said, all of the charges we're going to see right now in February are going to become more expensive from DAISY, meaning for the generator to get the natural gas, it's that much more expensive. It's going to cost them that much more for DAISY. The reason I'm in front of you today is we just want to make you aware when we sign the contract, and honestly, I think you're going to be very happy long term. I'm talking about raising rates by about $3 a month, maybe $4, somewhere in that range per customer. But basic service, I fully believe, is behind the curve. They buy out in front of you 12 months. You have not seen it yet. Basic service is right around our rate right now, about 13.4. starting in February, it's going to 13.6. That's their summer rate, and it's increased because of Daisy. But what I want you to know is it's not fully baked yet. When you see their next purchase, the suppliers had not seen this when they had bid on this. So they're going to be baking in some cost starting in August. I expect rates, basic service rates to, I don't want to use the word explode, but clearly climb from here. Clearly climb from here. Because of these costs, even the people that serve basic service, those wholesalers, are subject to these costs. So we're here to say, hey, listen, the sooner we make an adjustment to these costs, we're only paying the cost, the better off we are, because we have the next 3 years to spread this over. The longer there's no emergency. I just want to say this. There's no emergency, and certainly things can settle down. But we don't see any change in the dynamics. ISO New England has said in May, we will file a report. But that doesn't mean they're ready to change the market dynamics, i.e. this program in any way. So what do we do? Meaning, I don't think anything changes until someone ends up taking ISO New England to the FERC and saying these rates are not just and reasonable. So what we're here to do today is we'd like to go to the aggregation. It's about fixed price and stability, right? Stability and savings. And this charge now does not appear to have any stability, as you can see from the lines. So we're going to request that the supplier give us, hey, what if we continue to play this the game of, hey, we're only going to pay cost, and also give us a fixed price for the rest of the contract. The risk is on you. We'll put it on you. Here, full disclosure, at this time asking for that's fully baked. I fully expect that the supplier will more than cover their costs. That's what has me nervous about that road today, but it does say we can set it and forget it, if you will. I'm here to make sure I can answer any questions, and make no mistake, I fully understand this is not kind of run of the mill. This is deep in the weeds energy stuff. So I'm happy to explain anything that I've discussed here, but what's in front of us is we have to adjust to the marketplace. Because of the contract, we had a pass-through that we thought we had more than covered, 2.5 times that, but that has not been the case. So we need to, at some point here, this is not an emergency. We just need to address a rate change.
So I'll back up real quick just to try to get us at a high level view quickly, and then I want to leave lots of room for the select board to ask questions on this, and Mark will answer it. So what we're talking about here is the aggregate service that we provide, that we are part of a community power choice agreement in which residents of Hatfield, so this is about residents, not the town's energy supply necessarily, although we are part of it for several of our buildings. We can talk about that more later. But this is for residents, the energy supply that they receive and the rates that they're paying are set by this contract that the town has signed. Now they have the choice to opt out of that program and instead be under Eversource's basic service instead. What we offer over the life of the program is the argument that you will pay the same rate, and it's generally over time going to beat Eversource's basic service rate. So because we have the ability as a town to negotiate this and to go out to bid for good rates, it's a service to our residents that they generally end up ahead. They have the ability, again, to opt out and opt back in at any time. So if they are checking the rates day to day and are seeing, is the town's aggregation plan beating basic service from Eversource, I'll stay in. If it's not, I'll get out and then can come back in at any time. That's something that they can do. What we try to offer, again, is over the lifetime a better rate than the basic service. What I believe Mark is saying now is that based on some changes in the service fees and everything else, the rate that we have set isn't going to be sustainable for the supplier, and that they'll be looking to make a change to recoup their costs. If we do that now and make this change that's being recommended, we can lock in at a pretty good rate still. It's going to be slightly above basic service from Eversource in the spring and summer, which would mean that residents are paying about $3 a month now if they stay on the town's plan than they would under basic service. $3 a month, most people aren't going to be too concerned about that. But if they are, and if you are a resident at home, please, you can switch to the basic service and then come back into our plan at any time if you want to. But what we have tried to do is provide both stability and then a better value in the basic service through being a part of this plan. And what Mark is recommending is that we make these changes so that the stability stays in and that over the long term, we'll have a better plan than the basic service, most likely. Does that make any sense?
Yes, I guess my question would be, what was the point of signing the contract months or years ago for the rate that we currently have? Why wouldn't we just keep that rate? If the supplier's unable on their end to meet that rate supply, that's not the town of Hatfield's problem.
So
right?
I would imagine Mark's going to say that there's something in the contract, in the program, that means that if the supplier isn't meeting certain levels or they can take on these certain charges, then that does end up meaning they can change it. But Mark, you explain this because you'll know, and I don't.
100%. So inside the contract, when we went about it, we chose the low supplier. The low supplier said, hey, listen, we want to make sure we're protecting, and this is important, the ag rate. So we put on over the charge 2.5 times more than the guidance we received. But it was a pass-through, so we never paid more than cost. The issue is the costs have blown out. Not that we couldn't have. It would have been a little bit more, don't get me wrong, but we weren't sure at the time. It's a brand new charge. We said, with the guidance the ISO was given, we've more than protected this. We should be able to deliver a discount. That didn't happen. I just want to make sure that that didn't happen. So what we're up against now is, hey, we said that we would share in the costs, only pay costs, nothing more than what's being charged. Here's the bad news is, what's being charged is a factor of 8 or 9 times what ISO New England has told us prior with their guidance. And that's where it fell apart, if you will. That's why we're back to you saying, we never thought we would be here because we put in a buffer, more expense than it was needed. It didn't cover it though.
So why are we doing this at all? Why?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Why are we part of this program at all? If the whole purpose of it was to try to save money and get a better rate, but now you just said that never happened. Why? What's the advantage
this contract, to this? I should state this. In this contract, we're going to have to be slightly above for, say, 6 months or so. By slightly above, I'm talking about 3-4 mils, which turns out, just so that everyone gets it, it's about 60 cents a mil. 240, maybe it's 5, so it'd be $2.50, $3 over. But since we started doing the program, and Denise, I don't know if you happen to have the quarterly available, I don't, but we've saved money over time. I fully expect this rate will be way under basic service come August, when you see the new basic service rate.
And in order to save that money in kind of the winter terms, you often are taking a slight loss during the summer, because what Eversource will do is they'll set these lower rates during the summer, the higher ones in the winter. We're providing stability by being kind of in the middle, and that's usually going to save you. It is going to save you money in the winter, and it often saves you money in the summer as well. I think that's typically how it ends up working, right, Mark?
That was certainly, it's much less, but prior to the change in basic service, that is spot on. There used to be a summer rate much lower than the winter rate. Now they've kind of split it up. So as you can see, now you would expect it was 13.4. It changes to 13.6 for their summer rate. Their summer rate is above their winter rate. So that shows you the impact of Daisy, but not the full impact of Daisy at that time. But to your point, Andrew, that's the way it always worked. I'm going to make up the numbers right now. 13 cents in the winter, 10 cents in the summer. That's how it used to work. Aggregation rate around 11.
So
had savings.
I think that select board member's question does still stand though, because there's a question about, if we signed this contract, why are we making a change to it now, and what is it about the contract? I'm still having a little bit of trouble understanding it, that
Yes.
left us vulnerable to changes being asked for by the supplier. Is that what's happening?
So when we spoke about Daisy, we said, listen, this is a brand new cost. We don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So the way it was posed was, hey, we'll give you a fixed price, and that's much higher, or we'll put 4 point whatever mils on, 0.004 something. We believe it should be more than cover the cost. The unfortunate nature of this program was it blew out. It's more than, it looks like it's going to be around a penny or so. I don't know exactly.
So those bills, those prices for that new fee are still due to us, and we could have set the contract in a way that
Yes.
paid for it entirely, or we could have done it with an estimate of where we thought it was going to land, and that estimate was off essentially.
That's correct. The guidance we got from the people that created the program told us 1.25. We tripled it, right? We went to 4 and change.
Yeah.
And it did not happen. And now we're here, and it allows in the contract for a pass-through. So the costs have to be borne by the end user. We fully expected that these costs would be over the way we currently, given the guidance and what we did, we expected we would never be back to the town. Dead wrong.
So again, what is the point of this program? If we already budgeted for 3 times what was recommended, and that still was wrong, how do we have any sort of confidence that A, the rates are going to come back down to an area that could be even remotely close to that? And then also, what's the difference or the delta between what we could have been paying had we just let the lower rate ride the lower rate, the basic service rate, versus, and then up to what it is now?
Yeah. I
there
think, and
any
we can
sort
get
of data
info
on that?
from Mark and Denise on this. Overall, we have saved money. Residents have saved money by being a part of this program, and that's generally been the case. I think it's overwhelmingly been the case across municipalities when you look at this. I think what we're dealing with here is just a new fee, a new change that's come about that we were trying to figure out how to balance, and we're all learning together, how we set this in the future. And at the same time, that's going to affect Eversource's rates too. I think it's pretty certain that even if we make these changes tonight, we still will be in better shape compared to what Eversource's basic service is going to look like come next fall. But again, we can't guarantee that. But it's
What's the ramifications if we say no?
if we don't change the contract tonight?
Yeah.
Mark, do you want to take that? What happens if we don't make a change? At some point, I assume just there could be bills due. We'll have to make a bigger change later.
So no change has to happen tonight. This is not an emergency. As I mentioned, just changed this last year, and I fully expect your contract to be fantastic given what's going on in the energy markets. The reason is locked in through 2028. The pain that is coming next winter because of this winter is going to be astronomical. I can already tell you that next winter just went up $20 a megawatt. There's no way to buy energy out there at the current rate. Eversource doesn't have it. They're not allowed to buy it. So make no mistake, when they buy in August, it's going to be painful. And I mean painful. They won't be buying in August, it'll be June. But
I guess that further
reacts this year. So
that further goes to my question, that if we're already
ahead.
locked in with a rate through now 2028, like you're saying, why would we aggregate it higher?
So why would we change, our rate now if we're already locked in at something? And I think the answer is because the supplier is going to ask for more money because we're not covering our costs right now. Is that the issue?
On the Daisy only.
Yeah.
Only on the Daisy cost. So think of it as
New fee,
layers.
yeah.
So the energy piece of it is locked. And then there are other costs, right? There's capacity, RPS, ancillaries. This is a piece of the ancillaries. On this single cost, there's a larger expense. And that's what they're saying we need to cover. Now, does it have to happen tonight? No, we can watch and see what happens in February. Make no mistake, I don't even have final numbers from the supplier. Our goal here was to make sure that we're fully transparent with the community, let them know what's happening. So right now, I'm making up, we got 34 months left in the contract or what have you. That being said, we have 34 months to spread this out over. The more time that we continue to accrue at a rate that's below that, the more impactful that change is going to be. So right now we have 34 months to amortize these costs over. It might be a 3 or 4 mil increase, if you will. That being the case, if you waited a year, it might be a full penny increase that you now need to amortize over the last 24 months of the contract. So the only reason for us getting out in front of it is a small step. And
We're
Is there
frozen.
only, I mean,
Hold on, I think
I hear what you're saying.
hold on just 1 second.
Oh,
I
he
think
just disappeared.
they're all coming back. We scared them away. It's just been in and out. Yeah. Every couple hours.
Cost must have went up. We lost them.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But can we keep talking about this without him?
Yeah.
I guess my question is what's the why would the town, what's the advantage to the town signing a contract to guarantee a low, steady rate if you're going to try to change it in the wintertime? It just seems, it's a cost that, whether it's Colonial Power or the supplier or somebody, didn't account for, and they're trying to pass it back down through the contract back to us. But what's the point of even signing a contract if?
Yeah, I like the municipal energy aggregation program. I think overall, this is community power choice, not municipal aggregation. The community power choice program is good because overall, you're playing a game with the markets, which you're trying to figure out. But you're generally going to get better rates for residents than they would get on their own. It offers them something. It offers them an alternative to just the Eversource basic service. The other alternatives they have out there are all through third parties, which can be very confusing and often quite predatory, to be fair, and maybe unfair to them, but can be very difficult. This offers them. Oh, great! Hey, you guys can hear us? Okay.
Maybe.
Let's see.
Oh,
Mark
yes.
and Denise, do we still have you?
We're
I
back.
can now hear you. I apologize, Andy. I couldn't before.
I don't think it was on you. I think we just had a quick outage here in town hall, but we're all back. John, are we okay for YouTube? Yeah, still on. Excellent. Great. So I think just to be fair, you want to ask your question again for these folks?
Yeah, I guess I keep coming back to the question of, well, we're out.
They're gone.
Must be your voice. Some tone, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say I'm
Yeah,
certainly
we should
not,
keep talking. It's fine.
I'm not inclined to make any sort of decision tonight. So rather than battling this for another 20 minutes trying to get back on, let's just table this.
I agree with tabling it. I'm hearing what he's saying, but I can't see it. If I could see something on paper, some kind of stats, some kind of statistics, what we've saved, why they have to change it.
Yep.
I'm not saying, I need to see something.
Yep. I think that's fine. Mark, can you hear me all right?
We can, yes.
Can you just say, are there any repercussions? Are there any potential consequences for not acting tonight? Have you secured like a certain rate for us or something that we can only act on tonight? Is there anything going on there?
No. So all we wanted to do is be in front of the board so that if they decided, let's take a look at some numbers so that you could sign off, Andrew, at some point in the future here, when the supplier has some final numbers for, hey, this is what the pass-through is, or this is what the, a fully fixed for the rest of the term is, we could get you those numbers.
Yeah.
That's
Certainly
all. We
not
just
signing
wanted to,
anything until we have
not certain what everyone wanted to see. That's the biggest concern for us.
Yeah, so I think it would help this board to have just more information about what the program looks like, what the savings have been over time, what these new fees are, and how we're going to need to make them up, and just kind of why. The biggest barrier for me was just kind of understanding when we sign what's supposed to be basically a fixed cost contract, how we end up needing to make adjustments to that, and why we make those adjustments, and how we'll need to adjust for this new fee that we're figuring out. What else would this board like to know?
No, I mean, I'd like to
summary.
see it on paper
Yeah.
somehow.
Yep, I think
so
we
I
can get all of that
digest
together.
it, yeah.
I can work with Colonial Power Group and to get that before you. No, I understand why this is frustrating. I would say overall, I think that these programs have a very good track record and it provides a good alternative for our residents. Considering energy costs are one of the things that they end up spending a lot of money on. And
But I'd like to also see in their contract where they can change it midstream since we're locked into it.
yep,
How is that possible?
how are we allowed to change it? Yep, that's a good point, and we need to make sure that that's understood by everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And Andrew, I
Okay,
just want to let you know, I did send you over in my email. We have that amendment that has those daisy costs. It's all right there for you.
Great. Great. All right. I will share that. And we can talk about what other information would be helpful for everyone to have. Good. Anything else?
No, it's just
No,
good.
we're
I
good.
think it's just good that the residents know that they can switch in and out of this Colonial if they don't like it or if they do like it. They can go back and forth. It's helped me quite a bit, but in the future maybe it won't help me. I don't know.
Yep. Yep.
Could go either way, but I have control over it as a resident.
Yeah. It's a really difficult business, and I appreciate that Mark and Denise are doing the work in this business. It's a lot of calls I get from folks, trying to get the town to switch to other contracts, and those are not things that are often really above board. So I like the work that they're doing, and I think we'll figure out a way to make sure this is fair for everybody and that we feel good about the program. So we'll go from there.
Okay.
Thank you again, Mark and Denise.
thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Andrew. As soon as I have those numbers for you, I'll get them over. Thank
Perfect.
you
Thanks
so
a lot.
much. Thank the board. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move on to topic 5. So we're back to an abatement request on behalf of Cecelia Harvey. We had some discussion about this previously, and we asked for some more information.
Yep.
So,
I don't have much for you tonight beyond the question of why wasn't this resolved when the property was sold? Because typically, if there's a lien or a bill not sold, a bill not paid on a property, that would have to be resolved at the closing point.
Right.
What we've learned is that when a trailer is sold, there's no municipal lien certificate that is required. So it basically bypasses that process. So the trailer sale did not mean that they needed to first meet any of these obligations from the town. So that's just the reality we're living with on that, and it's probably a regulation that should change, but that's where we're at. So that's why nothing happened from the treasurer's office. So we still are left with this unpaid bill. I don't think we have to discuss it too much more tonight since I don't really have much more information for you, but if you have any other thoughts on how to pursue it beyond me just contacting the applicant again and really asking what can they pay us, I'm happy to entertain any other ideas.
Or why didn't they pay us when they sold it without a lien, knowing that there's a bill here?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't pay it because they had applied for the abatement and they were looking to have the whole thing resolved because of the hardship and because of the lack of funds available. I mean, that's their argument, and they're asking for this board for the abatement.
okay, I guess we'll,
I think we need to make a decision on this. We've tabled it 3 times. Let's, one way or the other. Let's put it to bed.
okay, what would you like to do?
I'm in favor, the most I am willing to abate it would be by 50% of the 3,000. So the remaining bill would still be the difference of that.
Okay, you want to make a motion then?
I need the number, hold on.
The total is this 3,132
Yep.
and 93 cents.
Before I make the motion, do you guys feel differently on that?
I'm not really, I'm not in favor of abating this at all, but
I could also go that way.
honestly,
we need to do something with it. It's been a while.
Did we actually contact them and ask them if they could pay some of it?
Yes.
And
Their
they
argument
said-
was they didn't have any funds available. That when this woman died, the sale of the trailer went to, actually no, she didn't die, I apologize. When the trailer was sold, the funds went to a nursing home where she continues to live. And there really isn't much money left in her account.
Yeah.
That's what I heard from the conservator, but we can issue a final bill and see what we can get.
I mean, I hate to be a jerk, but I mean, this happens to everybody. And they come to us, and if it's not our fault, we make them pay it. It just, I feel for this person, I really do, but I just, we have rules. And
Well, the thing is, on the other hand, this person doesn't have any money, then what other option do we have? We send it to a collection agency and they won't be able to get anything either, right? I mean, I don't know. If they have no funds, and they're saying they have no funds, that's what they're. Right?
They told us they couldn't pay it when I said what the full amount was. Now, if you come back and say the board has decided to reduce this by 50%, but we really do need a payment because the water was used and the woman was living here, you can see what happens.
What if we tried if they could make some partial payments over a period of time, like
A payment plan?
a payment plan? Could we ask if they have,
We can certainly offer
if they're
that.
open to a payment plan, maybe we could at least get some of the money back? Like whether it's $50 a month, $100 a month, or whatever, it's something more than what we're getting now, right?
Yes,
yeah,
it would be more.
How's that sound? Then we'll put it to rest. We'll ask the payment plan, and our next meeting, we'll finally put this to rest one way or the other. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I would like to see 50% payment up front, though, and then the remaining 50% they could put into a payment plan. We should try to collect as much as we can.
Yeah, if they may not have those kind of funds. They may. I don't know what their funding is.
can we do that? Is that
Ask
something we
whatever
can
you
do
want.
for
Well, ask for that.
payment plan? I
So
mean,
ask
is that something that
All right.
our collectors are capable of doing too?
Yes, yeah, we can do that. So you'd like a 50% up front and then remaining on a payment plan is what you'd like me to ask about?
Sounds great.
I think that would be fair. And
Okay.
do we have to have a motion or anything?
No,
for this
because I
kind
think
of
you're
thing?
just asking me to get in touch with them and see what's possible.
Okay.
And we'll come back and vote on it. And I think that was the chair's intention.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with that.
Great.
Sounds good.
Okay, topic 6, appointments and resignations. Looking for a motion on appointment of Austin Wheeler to Recreation Committee.
I will make a motion to appoint Austin Wheeler to the Recreation Committee.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Appointment of Walter A. L. Marek III as alternate building inspector.
I'll make a motion to appoint Walter L. Merrick III as alternate building inspector.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Appointment of Joshua Brunel as assistant water superintendent.
Would you like a little background on this one since
Yeah, I'd
we
like
have
to
the
know about that.
DPW director here?
Yeah.
So we obviously approved the job description last month. We got the ad out. We had 3 applicants. I interviewed all 3. Going through the questions, through the licensing, knowing a smaller plant like ours, wastewater plant, so on and so forth, there was many variables. Mr. Brunel basically came to raise to the top out of the 3 interviews. He currently, to explain the licensing, he currently holds a full 2T and a 3 OIT. That's operator in training. to run our plant as the superintendent, you need what they call a 4 municipal. He's already met all the requirements for the 4M. He's just going to meet the requirements, finish the requirements in time and current license. All he has to do in July is fill out the paperwork, and he'll have the full 4M. What's required by an assistant to cover for the superintendent when they're out, they can be one license below. He has a 3.0 IT, so if we bring him aboard and get him trained up, he's allowed to cover the plant in the case the superintendent's out on vacation, so on and so forth. So,
Go ahead. Just a point of clarification. The agenda, it says this is for an assistant water superintendent. Is it supposed to be wastewater?
wastewater.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So that covers the licensing piece. He also, it's not required for the job, he holds a Class A CDL, OSHA 10, and he's CPR certified. He's got 3 full years under his belt by one of our former superintendents here. Trained him from day one. I relied on that as a reference. I guess it's to my understanding he's a go-getter. He doesn't shy away from the administrative work. He wants to learn. And to speak to the other 2 candidates, they have a much higher grade license, and they come from much larger plant, which there's a lot less hands-on. Our small plant, we take care of the pump stations, the pumps, any repairs, a lot of hands-on, a lot of mechanical. And this gentleman, Mr. Brunel, has that. I highly recommend him. I think he's a great fit for the team. And we talked about successive planning of the wastewater treatment plant. I was pretty impressed by his interview and how he carried himself.
I will make a motion to appoint Joshua Brunel as assistant wastewater superintendent.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Welcome, Joshua, to the town of Hatfield.
Thank you.
Maybe
And
one of
he-
these days you can have him
Yeah,
here.
we can meet him,
all
yeah.
say hi to him. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure Brenda's going to get right on it, but he wants to start this coming Monday, so
Perfect.
Great.
I'll let him know that he got approved tonight, and Brenda's excited to get going with him. I had mentioned it to her, so thank you.
You have a form in your packet or in the signing folder for wage salary rate adjustment. So sign that, and he'll be good to go.
Okay, resignation of Adam Sullivan from elected position on school committee. There's a few things that are involved with this, correct?
Yeah, so Mr. Sullivan has decided to resign his seat. He would like to do that basically right before the election, so he can serve until then. His position is not up until 2028. So what this board needs to decide is, would you rather have a special election, which basically just means that his position would go onto the ballot this year. We wouldn't have to do a special election. It would just be on the same ballot as everything else. So there would be 3 school committee positions up for election rather than 2. Or would you like to follow the alternative procedure, which is set so that the board, the select board, and the current members of the school committee would interview candidates and then vote on them.
All right,
in a
now his
special session.
resignation is effective on May 18th, according to this.
That's correct. So
So he's there till May 18th, and our elections are on May.
19.
and because of you have the ability, because you know the resignation is coming, the town clerk allows you to put that position on the ballot, should you wish
Correct.
to put it on the ballot. So
what-
he will serve until that election. There's then a vacancy, and he can be elected at that election. Or you can do it through this other mechanism. But because he's doing it now, we have the opportunity to put it on the ballot, which is
Well, it
probably the
makes sense
cleanest
to
thing
put
to
it
do.
on the
Seems
ballot to
cleaner.
me. I don't know.
I think that makes a sense
Yeah.
to seeing how he's going to stay on, so they're not going to be down a member.
No break in service.
Everything will be fine, and that way I can go back to the voters.
You'll let the voters make the decision. So
All right, I'll make a motion then. I'll make a motion to move to have the election for the remaining term of the vacated school committee seat on the warrant. for the annual town election of May 19th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, topic 7, DPW report.
Okay, well, we hit part of what I had to report to you from what I've been working on directly. We did, it has changed a little bit since Thursday when I submitted the report. So currently we have 3 candidates for the highway labor position. One's been added. I received another application about 10 minutes after I hit send on the report, and certainly I would like to interview them. We've had 1 interview. I had some scheduled for yesterday, but I thought it would have been prudent for us to push them out, change them. So I have one tomorrow, 1 o'clock, and then Friday we have the 3rd candidate. So the first candidate interviewed well. I'm hoping to have something by the end of the week or the latest Monday for you for approval on that if we can get through the 3 interviews and have a successful candidate. So we had 13 snow events when I did the report, and obviously we just had a very large one. Again, I would like to let the public know that we have a very dedicated crew and they did a wonderful job. It means a lot to them to have, they challenge themselves. We're going to have the best roads around, period, in the winter. I think it's pretty impressive. They worked some long hours, all smiles, and I wanted to personally thank them publicly. We got to, and it was a DPW effort, water, sewer, everyone was behind a wheel. So,
You included.
yeah, I got to have a little fun and go back to my roots. I got to work all night.
All right.
Of the day, so no problem. I enjoyed it. I enjoy working with the rest of the staff in the DPW. It's great. So on to projects. Well, we are, to back up to the snow and ice, I did put in here, we went into deficit spending probably about the time that I requested it. So and again, I just want to reiterate, so far out of the 14 storms, I'm going to say at least 9 or 10 of them have been at night or on weekends. So, you know, obviously, well earned, but we hit the overtime budget pretty hard in snow and ice this year, just the way Mother Nature has created our storm events.
Nature of the beast.
Yeah. We're trying to control costs the best we can, but we can't control what happens to us. So we're doing our best on that. On to projects, the Day Pond. The Day Pond project, we had a walkthrough on Friday with Concom just to check that everything was in place to start that project. The erosion control, the fencing, the laydown area, and the decant area. And they were going to start yesterday. By the way, the inspection went fine, just reviewing the plan and everything. They were supposed to start yesterday. I was over there today. There's been no signs of them. I'm sure they may have been a little busy with snow removal too. So I'll reach out tomorrow and see what their plan is. But their whole intent was to get this done in the winter months to help them out as far as putting the whole area back in place, so we don't tear the fields up and everything else trying to get in and out with trucks. So, like I said, I'll check with them tomorrow on that. The Hatfield Elementary School boilers, we're moving ahead with that. We had a walkthrough last Tuesday. Adams Plumbing wants to come in and install an isolation valve so that when they start on the new boiler system, they can switch over when they're complete. So they want to come in on February vacation. Weather permitting, they gotta shut the system down for a certain amount of time. I don't think it's a real long time and drain it, but they'll be working on that. Now, something that's come up real recent. We lost a burner in one of the boilers, and it's 6 weeks out. They don't stock them for that particular boiler. I had them order it immediately. They called, and unfortunately the company is in Tennessee and they're out out of power for at least a week from the ice storm.
Yeah.
So we're working on a few other alternatives in case we have to, if the other boiler has an issue, to go to portable heat if we have to. I don't have a lot of specifics on it. I got to get some more information also from Adam. Adams did get us some costs, but I think we got to shop around a little bit there. It was pretty steep for the first month, but we really want to try and avoid that. The reason it's an issue is there wasn't an issue with the boilers when we first went through the procurement process and whatnot. They were pretty available. And now when Adams went to order it, they said it was 6 weeks out. Now, it can be a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, it's been a heck of a winter in the Northeast that things are probably flying off the racks, if you will. So that could be part of the issue. So we didn't expect it. It was a curveball that came at us on this. So, but we're working on it, and I'll surely keep everyone informed. I've been in touch with the school superintendent. So. The pavement management's moving along. We got our the first bill on that. We got the GIS system in place. Now Dwayne and I will work with Beta to start putting the thing together. You know, they've been out on the roads. They've been doing a lot of locating and stuff like that. Asset management really hasn't changed. I just left it in here for now. Unpaved roads grant. Thank you, Dwayne. He did a lot of legwork on this, getting this grant in, and I truly appreciated it. So at first, it came out to $250,000, $300,000. The grant award's up to $1 million. So Dwayne and I had a talk, and all the projects we have on our plate coming up this summer, you know, so a few projects got backed up before I came aboard, and so on and so forth. We decided to go in another direction, working with Mass DOT to get the application in, and we decided it's basically going to be all contracted out. So it comes up to $670,440. And like I said, we can be awarded up to $1 million. I did put some information in your packet, just a very quick narrative. It wasn't all of it, and then just a quick cost on one of the Mass DOT forms if you have any questions on it. I don't think I need to read through it all, but if you have any questions, let me know on that. So the water truck has now been pushed out to early spring. Supply chain issue on the toolboxes on the back. And the over the guardrail mower is still sitting, and dump truck are due sometime late spring. So I'll keep you up to date on that. We had a little issue downstairs. In the ladies' room, we had a pipe start leaking on a Friday afternoon to the boiler, steam boiler. That's all been repaired. It's all set to go. Overall, considering the cold snap and whatnot, we've done really well with the facilities. We're having a little hiccup with the gas burners and the highway garage. We think we may have found the issue today. If not, then I'll have to call someone in to take a peek at them. They're not dead, but we have to reset them 2 or 3 times a day out in the shop. But everything else is protected. Our water is protected and everything. So there's many more things, but that's basically the highlights for now.
Oh, thank you. Congratulations. Your probationary period's over with.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I really enjoy working for Hatfield. I really do. The staff's been great since I come aboard. The select board's been very supportive. Andrew and I have worked a lot together. All the town hall staff, all the department heads, everything's been really good. So I truly appreciate that.
Any questions on DPW?
Nope.
Nope, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We have a good team.
Yes.
DPW, and thank your crew again for all the hard work they did on this storm. And we'll move to the town administrator report.
Excellent. Well, you took the first things on my report, but I think that's great. Excited to have Marlo here officially as our director. Typically, we have the option for a mid-year review, but I think we could also just do the annual review as well. So that's up to this board, but I can circulate that if that's helpful. Budget, So we'll have that, we'll have all of our numbers in by the end of this week, so you'll have those binders for you ready to go. And then we'll do our first conversations on that at your next select board meeting. I'm recommending the schedule that's in front of you is a handout that we do TA budgets and then some of the treasurer budgets at the February 10th meeting, as well as a budget overview. I would like to invite the finance committee to that if they can attend. February 24th, we talk about police, fire EMS, council on aging, building inspector, and accountant. March 10th, DPW, rec, historical, and conservation. March 24th, last year we had the schools come in. I think it's a good idea to do that again, if that sounds good to you. And then the 14th, we crunch our numbers, get everything together so that we can, on the 21st, do a final approval. So that's my recommendation for calendar. Finance committee would meet with town clerk, assessors, board of health, planning board, library, all the elected bodies. If that looks okay to you, I'll just make sure, I have sent this to departments to make sure that it looks good to them, but I'll follow up, and if we need to move any around, then we can. But just wanted to put that out there for your feedback.
Any concerns on the schedule?
Looks good. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Electronic timesheets. The treasurer's office and I are getting we're taking the online training that's been sent to us so that we can hit go on electronic timesheets. It's all been set up for the beta group that we're working with, the testing group. So that's town hall staff that we're piloting it with. And then we are a month away from launching the new website. It's starting to look really good. I can send it around to you if you'd like to see. We got really great pictures from residents, so thanks to everybody who sent in just some amazing pictures. We're having a hard time choosing, but got some folks here who are going through them. Any of you want to be involved in picking pictures? You can if you want to, but I can send you our finalists if you want to see. Okay, that's perfect. But they're all really good. We've got a pretty town, so we're in good shape.
I would like to see them, though.
Yeah? All right, I'll send them around because they're really good. So I had an interesting conversation last week with two consultants who are working with the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools. So they're meeting with the towns around here who are served by Smith Voc, and they are looking at the viability of and interest from the towns in creating a regional school district. So Smith Vocational Agricultural School is different from almost any other voc school in the state because they don't have their own district. They're serving Northampton and then the other towns around them through a tuition model, and it's funded by that tuition and also by the will of Oliver Smith, which is fascinating. But because they don't have this district set up, that the towns who are members aren't paying assessments, and they just don't have that model, they're not eligible from the state for Massachusetts School Building Authority money, and they are eyeing a future renovation. So one option available to them is to try to get MSBA funding by creating a regional school district. And this would be just for the vocational regional school. They are doing this early, asking now for interest, and would be interested in coming to a future select board meeting if you would like to talk to them. They were very frank with me, which I appreciated. I have a little bit of experience in at least dealing with regional school agreements from the last community I was in. They're really difficult to work with once they're signed. They can be difficult to sign. This could be a 2 to 3 year process just to get in there. And then once you do have an agreement, typically the schools who are a part of it, districts that are part of it, end up signing an agreement to pay not just for the operational costs, but for capital as well. In the current model that we have, we're not responsible for any of the capital costs of the building. So if they're eyeing a future renovation, it could be incredibly costly. The school that I was involved in, my last position, was upwards of $400 million. I don't think it will be that, but a lot of vocational schools end up being quite expensive. And then the town would be on the hook for some of that spending should we join some kind of district.
Yeah, I guess we need some pros and cons on this.
And I think the consultants would be willing to talk about that. I also can put together a list of pros and cons. The pros are you get to be a little more involved in the operation. You get a representative on the school committee. You get a certain number of seats that would go towards Hatfield residents. But the cons is this funding model. You would be on the hook for capital spending, and you, instead of having a tuition-based model, you would have an assessment that comes to you directly. That would be calculated based on whatever you agree to in the regional agreement. But then you would be you would work off this regional agreement probably forever because they're very hard to change. It requires unanimous vote of all of the towns that are in the agreement.
I mean, there's been some conversation of whether to have a outside consultant or somebody look at our school system, see if there's options available because our population's going smaller and smaller, and people are wondering if it's time to think about other avenues of regionalization or combining with somebody, and this sort of sounds like that might be another option for us, I guess, so.
Well, this is just on the vocational side.
Right, and this is on the vocational
But
side, so.
certainly if we were
I'm just-
interested.
Since we're bringing this up for discussion, I figure, well,
Yeah.
maybe it's a good time to have that discussion or bring it on our agenda next meeting to discuss whether we should be looking at some kind of survey or outside consultant. Because, and the reason I'm saying that is because there is some mistrust. If a school committee does it, they'll favor the school in a way. They may not, but I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there, that's all. Since we're
Yeah.
under this topic.
Yeah.
So maybe on the next meeting, we have it on our agenda to discuss, and maybe you could have Connor here or somebody from the school committee to see if we should be looking at other avenues or other options for the future. I know this is not something that happens overnight, but this would be something that may or may not happen in the future for the town, that's all.
Well, I'm happy to set that up and have them at a future meeting. Next one, if possible. They'll also be here the 24th if we want to have that conversation with them then. And then there are some resources available to have that kind of study or survey. So I'm happy to set that up.
Whether you want to do both the same night, that's fine, or split it up. We do the 24th and do the school stuff afterwards, whatever you think works the best for us.
It's at the decision of the board. You can do whatever you like.
Okay.
Would you like to speak to those folks about the Smith Vocational School, or do you think there's less interest in?
Well, I mean,
that district
I don't
model.
have a problem hearing what they have to say. I mean, we don't have to make any agreements or agree to anything. We can at least hear what they have to say, and then, because that's more of a town-wide discussion, that would be something that the town would have to decide. And in order for us to bring it to the town, we have to try to get as much information that we possibly can. That is the pros and cons of it, that's all.
Would something like this be a town vote, seeing how it's going to be such a big change?
It would have to go through town meeting.
would have to go through.
To join a district agreement requires a vote of town meeting.
So it would have to be, yeah, so everybody would have to know, so.
It's
So
a
it makes
process.
sense to get as much information as we can.
And we're not looking at this for this year's town meeting or probably the one after that, maybe the one after
Right.
that. It's a long, the study process could
It
take
might
a
be
year and a
3
half.
years
Start kicking it
before.
around now, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Great.
Well, if we bring it up now, then in 3 years we'll forget, I guess. but I don't know.
No.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
So this is kind of fun, affordable housing support. I had applied to the Massachusetts Housing Partnership, a statewide organization that works to support towns and their affordable housing goals, for intensive technical assistance on forming an affordable housing trust. This is something that was flagged as a goal in the 2040 plan. We don't currently have one of these, but it can be a really effective tool for working outside of, working throughout the year in using funds that can be allocated through CPA or other forms. And there were 20 municipalities that applied for this, and they had room for maybe 3 or 4 to receive this funding, and we were selected. So
Oh,
Town of
nice.
Hatfield will get to work with them. We'll work with the planning board, work with other folks interested in affordable housing, and it'll be a great thing to get to advance. So we're excited for that. I think it'll be nice.
Thank you.
We'll discuss this more in the future, but just there's a lot of residents, understandably, who have questions about the Gielaher project, and I just wanted to get a quick update out there for folks. We did meet Gielaher and CEI on January 21st. Gielaher was on site on Friday, January 23rd, to look at some of the findings that were in the CEI report and try to assess some of the things that were reported there, and figure out what their interventions might look like. By the end of this week, we will be meeting, well, we will be discussing with them their findings and their proposals for moving forward. And we owe them a final list of what we view as our punch list at this time, understanding that all evolves based on their choices for dealing with the report that was presented last week, showing some real issues in the system. And Hatfield Elementary School roof, documents are available starting tomorrow. So we had a great meeting with Connor and Melissa from the schools to discuss a schedule and how we'll manage working on that project. We want to get this done as fast as possible, which will mean some working on the building while school is in session. We'll get as much communication out as possible, but the way it will work is that they're working just a shingle portion. They'll start it during school vacation, so they'll get some priority areas done when kids aren't in the building. Once they're back in the building, it works so that they're moving pretty quickly around the building. So it's not like you'll go 2 weeks with hearing hammering on the roof above you. It'll be maybe a day or two. So I think it's going to be not too much of a distraction for kids, so it will be done very safely, and we're excited to get this project done.
Nice.
So we'll have bids in, not the next time we talk, but the time after that. So very soon.
Good progress.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Okay, moving right along. Topic 9 is change of officer manager for Sisters Convenience Store and Deli Corp. DBA Sisters Convenience Store liquor license. So there's a request to change the manager at Sisters Convenience Store in front of us. And the manager's name, if I have it correctly, it's Harshaban Patel? Okay.
Good.
So I would need a motion on that unless we have any questions.
No. I'll make a motion to approve the change of officers, managers for Sisters Convenience Store and Deli Corp. DBA Sisters Convenience Store liquor license.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, topic 10 is approval of water and sewer FY26 commitment number 2. As you know, we're having a change in billing, right? So this is commitment number 2, and the FY total commitment for the water sewer is $670,971.97. So I would need a motion on that. We also have commitment 1. She's just asking for commitment 1 or commitment 2.
This is for commitment 2.
Yeah, commitment
Yeah.
2.
So commitment 1, it looks like the results are on the back for commitment 1.
So we've already done that.
Commitment 2 is the one that we're doing right now.
I think it's just mislabeled on the front chart.
It is. The front chart says total of FY26 commitment 1. That should say 2.
I'll make a motion to approve the water and sewer FY26 commitment number 2.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. So, moving right along. Unless we have any discussion, we're going to be moving into executive session and we will not be returning. So, is there any other items that we need for discussion this evening?
No, there are not.
Okay.
Unless board has anything. No? Good.
No, I was just going to make a motion.
Good.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, and we will not be returning to open session.
Second.
Jaworski, aye.
Gagnon, aye.
Longstreet, aye.
Okay. We will not be returning, so John, thank you, and have a good night.